Okay, here we are back in chapter 38, and we're over at the IK propeller example. And what the author wants us to do here is to create a kinematic chain that allows us to rotate this handle, and the rest of the items will rotate. But we also need to limit the rotation and the movement of these objects so that they don't slide or kind of move in or rotate in other directions. So we have to limit them to the z-axis, and the z-axis runs right along the center of the shaft area. Okay, so what we need to do first is link the objects and link them from the propeller to the shaft to the gear, and then the gear to the handle. So we'll go ahead and do that using this connector tool here. Go there, and then we'll go there. So let's take a look at our graph editor, new schematic scene, and we can see that everything is linked correctly here. We go from the propeller to the shaft to the gear to the handle, and we're okay there. So the next thing what we need to do is go down to the hierarchy, go down the IK window, and we have to limit the sliding joints and the all of the sliding joints so they don't slide anywhere. But we also need them to not rotate as well, except for the z-axis. And the z-axis is the only axis we will be rotating by. Okay? So with that said, let's turn everything off except for, like I said, the z-axis. And don't forget that if you uncheck the active, that means that the item is constrained. Okay? Okay, with all these items constrained, now what we want to do is make sure that the rest of the items are equally constrained. You know what? I think I had the gear selected during these constraints. And so what I want to do is take a look at the handle. And the handle seems to be constrained the same way. But I don't want to take a chance, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here, and under the sliding joints and the rotational joints, I'm going to select my handle, copy the sliding and the rotational joints, go over to the gear, paste those rotational limits, paste them again on the shaft, and I'm going to paste them again on the propeller. And if we scroll down to the bottom, we can see that we should have the same kind of deselected constraints on the X, Y, and the Z axis for the slider, and the X and the Y for the rotational. So now we go down and we activate the auto key, go ahead and select the handle, type E for the rotation tool, and we'll go ahead and rotate this in the Z axis for about 360 degrees. Now I'm all the way to the top of my window, that's why my propeller's flipping out, and I can't go any further, any higher, so it doesn't make 360 degrees, but I think you understand where I'm going with this. Let's go back to the beginning, and let's go ahead, I made a mistake. Let's go back to auto key. Maybe I didn't set this to 100, I thought I had. And now we'll rotate it. And not quite there. Okay. Turn this off, scoot this back. Yeah, there we go. And all of a sudden we're rotating here. Okay, except for the little jump, it looks pretty smooth. And if with a little work we could have got that to work out. Okay, we're going to move on to the next tutorial, which is the dancing puppet. Okay, go ahead and open the dancing puppet max file located on your CD-ROM chapter 38, and basically the author wants us to create an IK chain from his shoulder up here to, I guess, let's call this his wrist. Let's call this his hand, and we'll call this his wrist. And you are to also create an IK chain from his leg here to his ankle. Oops, wrong thing. Okay, let's see, his ankle right there. Okay, Just rotate him around a little bit. Okay, there we go. Okay, now I think you guys remember how to do this. We go ahead and go to the animation, IK solvers, and I need to select something first here. Select that arm right there. Animation, IK solvers, HIIK, and I noticed a little kind of hidden line there, so I want to come over to this area, and there we go. And my little IK handle solver is set for that. Okay, now I want to do one for the other side here. Go to animation, IK solvers, high IK, and go to the wrist area right there. Okay, and you will see that there's a little blue tick there. Now, interestingly enough, I can't see the line that moves from goes from the shoulder here down to the wrist. And let me just go to shaded and see. No, it's not going to bring it back. Let me hit W, make sure that it works. Yep, no, there it is. Okay, so it works. So now what I want to do is do the same thing for the leg here. Go to animation, IK solver. Go to the ankle there. There we go. And then select that one, animation. Go here. Okay. Oh, you know what? I think it went to the wrong spot. So I'm going to hit Control Z on that one. Make sure this one's still there. Select this bone again. And go there. There we go. Okay. So now I have these. Now the author asks us to make him dance. So this is practice for what you're going to be doing with your character. Now you may choose to rig your character in cat or with bones, this old-timey system here, and either way kind of works the same. So let's go ahead and author asks us to start at 0, so I'll go ahead and auto key. We'll start at a pose, and then we'll move to, he wants us to move to frame 40. So we'll move there, and then we'll just kind of like just repose him. Whoa, he's Elvis. Okay, and that's kind of a little problem with why we need to constrain our IK rigs. Okay, let me zoom back out here a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to rotate him. So that's at 40. Well, let's go to 60. Let's pick him up here. Let's move this joint up and back. I don't know, just kind of tweaking them all over the place. Move that back. And then we'll move his arms down. Whoa. Really wild, isn't he? Real careful. There we go. There we go. 60 and then 80. Let's push them forward. Push them forward. Push these legs down. Yeah, let's push them in. This way. Ah, I missed. Okay, and let's go to 100. And maybe push them back. Kind of in a weird position, but that's okay. Kick that back. Ah, okay. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, strange position, but that's okay. Let's take off the auto and let's make him dance here. Okay, so basically you kind of get the idea of what we're trying to do here. Now with a fully constrained IK rig, you wouldn't have a lot of this going on. Okay. Okay, here we are back in chapter 38, and we're going to work on the spyglass, which is a demonstration of history-dependent IK solvers. And let me just go ahead and read what the first sentence on page 960 says about history-dependent. The history-dependent IK solver takes into account the previous keyframes as it makes a solution. Okay, this solver makes having very smooth motion possible, but the cost of the time to compute the solution is increased significantly. But that really doesn't tell you the whole story. The whole story is that, as in a spyglass case, as this piece moves out a certain amount, the IK solver then reads that amount as we've determined it by placing that in the parameters here. It'll read that distance and then begin movement of another object, whatever's constrained to this to the HD IK solver. Okay, so by demoing it, I think we'll get a little better idea of what of how it works. So let's see. So what we need to do first is we need to select the largest tube, and what we want to do is make that the terminator. The termination of this whole IK chain, and it basically by definition does not move because of the fact that we constrained that. Okay? Then we'll take the largest tube and we'll go ahead, and since it's still selected, we'll go down to the sliding joints area here, and we will only activate the Z axis. Now in the Z axis, it's going to constrain the movement of any piece behind it as well, to only be able to slide in the in the Z direction. I keep on getting the X and the Z direction mixed up. In the Z direction. All right? So we want to kill the active of rotation in the X, and to kill the active rotation in the Y, and kill the active rotation in the Z. That way we have the only movement allowed for this is in the Z direction. Okay? Now, since we limited the movement to the Z direction, what we'd like to do is maybe copy those same limitations to the balance of the spyglass pieces here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the sliding limitations and copy the rotation as well. Then I will apply them to each one of these sub pieces. There, there, there. Nothing's really flashing or happening, so I'm hoping that they have changed. Okay? So once I apply them, I go ahead and select the largest tube again, and I want to go ahead and apply the IK solver. So animation, IK solver, the HD solver. I'm going to select the dummy object there, and you could see the we saw the dash line that occurred over there, and it looks like the solver is in the correct place. Sometimes it ends up here, but looks like it's in the correct place. So now what I want to do is I want to select the second to the largest tube right there, go back to the hierarchy, and I want to limit the movement to 80. Now this is the limitation, the movement limitation that I was talking about, where it reads the HDIJ cane and then prompts the other piece to move. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and limit the movement from 0 to -80. Okay, and then what I want to do is I want to copy that. Let's zoom up here. I want to copy the sliding, only the sliding attribute. Okay, I'm going to paste it onto 3, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The author asks you to place it onto the select tubes 3 and 6 individually, and then click paste. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would make that one. And since this one's holding steady, I don't know why we would have to select it, but I'm just going to go ahead and follow direction. So I'm going to go ahead and paste that one as well. Copy, let's see, and paste. Nope, won't let me because it's frozen. That makes sense. Okay, so I'm going to just paste it on the rest of them and see what happens here. Now notice as I paste, I get these little buttons appearing down here. See, the third one already has it. Fourth one has it, and now I'm going to paste it on, and that's the original. So that's where I originally got that limitations from. So now I want to go ahead and auto key, go to 100, and select that and move it out. I'm going to have to give myself a little more room here. Whoops, too much. Kind of wacky. Let me stop this in a... Well, that's what happens when you have a dig pen as opposed to a mouse. So I'm just going to go ahead and continue to pull it out. Okay, so at 100, it's at full extent. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take this off, rewind it, and here's our animation. Okay. So I'm sure you guys can think of various situations in which you could use something like maybe an antenna raising up, or there's a guy in my capstone class who's working on some megapixel camera that needs to be elevated by one of these tubes, but this is a perfect solution for that. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move to the IK limb solver now.